Good morning, class 12 students. This is the final part, the seventh part of the chapter, The Rat Trap, written by Selma Lagerlof. So, before we proceed with our today's and final session, let's discuss the portion we covered in the last 6 videos. As you are aware, that Rat Trap is a story that actually gives you an insight into the human nature, and it also highlights the greed for material things, right? That entrap human beings into this world. We get to see this through the character, the rat trap seller, because once he was struck by an idea that this whole world, with its lands, seas, villages, is nothing but a big rat trap. It offers rich and different kinds of bait to in order to trap people, right? And the very moment when we touches the bait, the world come to an end for us. So this rat trap seller, the chapter also highlights that the goodness of a human being can be awakened through love, compassion, respect, and understanding, right? So I think the central theme of the chapter is that yes, the love can reform anyone. Compassion and the trust, the respect can reform anyone. So let's discuss that how the chapter began and the incident that we came across in the chapter. So obviously the story revolves around the beggar, the rat trap seller. He is also a petty thief, because he goes about selling rat traps, and because selling rat traps, and the reason he resorts to steal, it is because his rat trap business is not profitable, right? That is why, in order to survive and keep his body and soul together, he steals and he begs and steals, right? And he has never been treated with love and kindness. This is the reason he has developed a negative attitude towards people and the world, right? So one day, uh, he's actually pondering, he thinks about a lot of things, right? So one day when he was naturally thinking about his rat trap, this struck his mind that the whole world is nothing but a big rat trap, right? So this is where we find the use of the figure of speech, the rhetorical device called metaphor, because the world is rat trap, right? It offers riches, luxury, money to people, right? And the very moment when we get tempted, it trap us in the rat trap, and then we are unable to escape. Right? So, right, and then we also get to see that that how this fellow, the rat trap, the vagabond, who this idea occurred to his mind, and he himself has fallen into this trap. So this is actually an irony we see, right? Because this occurred to him, and he could not even save himself from being trapped. So one day, and how it happened, one day when he was trudging along the roadside, he came across a little cottage, and he was looking for shelter, so he knocked. The room, the little cottage, it actually belonged to an old man. The old man, he opened the door and he welcomed him, because the old man was very lonely. He has no wife, no children, so he was happy to have someone in his loneliness. And the man was very generous, because he showed him utmost hospitality, right? And he offered him food, he gave him tobacco, they played card till midnight, and then the man was also generous with his private matters. He disclosed that he is he has saved 30 kronor in his house, and this tempted the peddler, right? So when the next morning when they left, the peddler came back and he stole the money, and he stole the money. He ran away, and he did not take the main thoroughfare. He took the way through the jungle, right? And this is where he lost his path. He could not find his way out of the forest, and at this time he realized that he has fallen into the trap. And this prison, the forest, it seems like we see the use of simile. The forest has been compared uh, with impenetrable prison, and he could not get out. It was December, it was very cold, he was on the verge of death. And this is where he heard the thumping noise, and fortunately he knew it was Ramzo Ironworks, so he went towards the direction of Ramzo Ironwork for shelter. So he found this Ramzo Ironwork. He was so fortunate because he was on the verge of death, because it was very difficult to survive outside in winter. And uh, his condition, right? Because he is not a very healthy man. He wears shabby clothes, and he has not eaten since the morning, right? So you can actually imagine that how difficult it could have become for the peddler to survive the night, to survive in the forest. But he was lucky enough this time, although he has already fallen into the trap, right? So he went to Ramzoyan work, seeking, and he sought shelter for the night, right? And that night, the iron works, the iron mill, it was visited by the iron master, and the iron master mistook him as one of his old regimental comrade, Nils Olaf. So he invited him to his house for Christmas. But the peddler denied, because he knew that this would be the another trap. But later, when the iron master left, later Iron Master's daughter Edla Wilmanson, she arrived at the scene. She's a modest and very down to earth. She's very very convincing and very simple, and somehow she persuaded the peddler to come to their house to spend Christmas. And the peddler, he could not you know he could not, he could not deny the another bait, that bait of full hearted generosity and comfortable living, right? So he could not say no to Edla Wilmanson, and finally he came to their house. He was given new clothes, and he got freshened up, and he shaved. And the next morning, when he arrived in front of them, all cleaned up and dressed up, the Iron Master was not at all happy, because the Iron Master now knew that he had made a mistake in understanding and in acknowledging the person. The peddler was nobody, but he was a imposter. So peddler is also responsible, because he accepted the invitation, right? So now the Iron Master, he is very aggressive. He is furious, and he wants to call the sheriff in order to in order to because he wants to call the sheriff, so the sheriff can come and he could arrest him, because the peddler tried to be an somebody else. Understand, he could have said no, but he was equally responsible, the peddler, right? Now let's see what happened next. Let me come to the portion that we need to. Okay, so this is where Okay, and if the sheriff comes now and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Iron Master, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork, and then you will get a caught in the in the trap. And the peddler, he shouted and he yelled, and he told I mean he shouted at the Iron Master, and he told him that today is his turn and tomorrow will be his, because this whole world is a rat trap, and today I have been caught, tomorrow you will be caught, right? And because this is very absurd, this sounded very absurd to the Iron Master, and then Iron Master began to laugh. That was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on Christmas Eve, but now get up here as fast as you can. So, and he laughed, and he told the peddler to get out of his house. But just as the man was opening the door, the daughter said, I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go. And with that, she went and closed the door. And this is where we see the obedient daughter, Edla Wilkinson. She opposed her father, and she asked the man to stay for Christmas Eve, and she closed the door herself. What in the world are you doing? Said father, and the father was confused. He asked his daughter that what she was doing. The daughter stood there quite embarrassed, hardly knew what to answer, and I think probably this is the first time when she has disobeyed her father, and she was so embarrassed, but she could not say anything. That morning she had felt so happy when she thought how homelike and Christmassy she was going to make things for the poor hungry wretch. She could not get away from the idea all at once, and that was why she had interceded for the vagabond, and this is why she argued, she argued for this vagabond. Understand, the reason is that because the Edla Wilkinson, she seems like a very kind lady, and she wanted to something for the peddler, and because it was her who convinced the peddler to come to her house, and obviously she could not let him go alone. I mean, let him go without celebrating the Christmas Eve or spending Christmas with them. That is why she argued, and she disobeyed her father for this vagabond. I am thinking of this stranger here, said the young girl. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there probably not a single place in the whole country where is welcome and can feel at home. Wherever he turns, he is chased away. Always he is afraid of being arrested and cross-examined. I should like to have him enjoy a day of the peace with us here, just one in the whole year. And this is what she spoke. She requested his father that he should let this man stay in their house, because he has never been treated with love or kindness. He has got no home, and he's always running, he is being chased, he's afraid of being arrested and examined, right? So let him have a peaceful day for one day. The Iron Master mumbled. He spoke in low voice. In his beard, he could not bring himself to oppose her, and he could not say no to his daughter. It was all a mistake, of course, she continued, but anyway, I don't think we ought to chase away a human being whom we have asked to come here and to whom we have promised Christmas share. And she told his father that it was all mistake, right? And they were also equally responsible, because they mistook him as Nils Olaf, as an old regimental comrade, and they actually convinced him to come to their house. "Oh, you do preach worse than a parson," said the Iron Master. "Only hope you won't have to regret this, right?" And the father, he blamed his daughter, and he told that she actually preach means to give lecture, and he thinks that his daughter gives lecture that is worse than a parson, right? Parson is a clergy member of the church. So the young girl took the stranger by the hand and led him up to the table. "Now sit down and eat," and said, for she could see that her father had given in, right? And she asked the peddler to sit down, and he asked him to have his to have his meal, right? Okay, the man with the rat trap said no, not a word. He only sat down and helped himself to the food. Time after time, he looked at the young girl who had interceded for him. Why had she done it? What could the crazy idea be? And I think this is probably the first time when he is being treated with love and respect. And it is very difficult for the peddler to decide. I mean, to find out and to figure out that why the lady, why she is being so I mean, why is she being so kind? Because actually, this is her trait. That's the lady, Edla Wilminson. She's actually very kind. Understand? She is actually an epitome of kindness, right? And so the man, he ate his food, and he actually trying to find out that what could have been the reason. Understand? So after the Christmas Eve at Ramsor passed just as it always had, the stranger did not cause any trouble because he did not nothing but sleep. The whole forenoon he lay on the sofa in one of the guest rooms and sleep at one stretch. At noon they woke him up so that he could have his uh, share of the good Christmas fare, but after that he slept again. It seemed as though for many years he had not been able to sleep as quietly as safely as here at Ramsor, right? So this, the peddler, after Christmas Eve at Christmas Eve at Ramsor passed, right? And the peddler, he did not cause any trouble because more, he most of the time what he he slept, right? And he was asked to wake up only when his food was ready. In the evening, when the Christmas tree was lighted, they woke him up again, and he stood for a while in the drawing room, blinking as though the candlelight hurt him. But after that, he disappeared again. Why does candlelight hurt him? Because children, he is a vagabond. He does not have any home. He just wanders. He spends night in darkness and all, right? So he doesn't know the lighting. He's not actually used to these atmosphere or this comfort, right? And maybe he's this is for the first time when he's getting enough time to sleep. Otherwise, he's running and he's moving here and there, right? Because he has got no home. Okay. After that, he disappeared again, and Christmas, in the evening of Christmas, when the tree was lighted, he came there and he stood there for a while, and then he went back. 2 hours later, he was aroused once more. He then had to go down into the dining room and eat the Christmas fish and porridge. And then he ate fish and porridge. And as soon as they got up from the table, he went around to each one present and said thank you and good night. Right? And then they went up to the Christmas presents, and he went back. But when he came to the young girl, she gave him to understand that it was her father's intention that the suit which he wore was to be a Christmas present, right? And as a Christmas present, he was given the suit, and Adela told him that it was her father's intention to present him with the suit. He did not have to return it, and he wanted to spend next Christmas Eve in a place where he could rest in peace and be sure that no evil would befall him, right? So that is what he wants, that he could spend the next Christmas Eve in peace, and he will be out of the hand of evil. The man with the rat trap did not answer anything to this. He only stared at the young girl in boundless amazement, and the man is still he's still amazed because he is still unable to figure out that why he is being treated with love and compassion, right? Because he has never been treated this way. All his life, he was questioned, he was examined, and he was suspected of something, right? So that is why he was in amazement. The next morning, the iron master and his daughter got up in a good season to go to the early Christmas service. So the next day after the Christmas, the family had to go to church, right? So they got up in good season, means they got up early in the morning because they had to go to church for Christmas service, right? But their guest was still asleep, and he was asleep, so they did not disturb him. And you remember that when he was at the old man Crofter's house, he woke up early, right? Because the old Crofter had to leave. When at about 10 o'clock they drove back from the church, the young girl sat and hung her head even more dejectedly than usual. And when they were coming back, when the family was coming back to house from the church, we see that the woman Edla Wilminson, she does not seem fine. And why so? Because At church, she had learned that one of the old crafters of the ironwork had been robbed by the man who went around selling rat traps, and now she is aware that the one whom she has harbored in her house uh, is the one who stole 30 kroner rupees from the old crafters of the ironwork. That is why she was so disappointed. Yes, that was fine, fellow, you let into the house, said father. I only wonder how many silver spoons are left in the cupboard by this time. And the father got a chance to, rebuke his daughter, and he told her that it was his mistake to let the man inside, and now he wonders that how many silver spoons they will have at their home after this incident, because the father is he put this allegation that the man would have stolen their silver spoons. The wagon had hardly stopped at the front steps when the ironmaster asked the valet whether the stranger was still there, and when they reached the ironmaster, he was in a rush, and he asked the valet whether the stranger was still there or not. Or the valet replied that he had heard at the the ironmaster said that he had heard at the church that the man was a thief. The valet answered that the fellow had gone. So the valet said the man had already gone, and that he had not taken anything, or he had not taken anything with him at all. On the contrary, on the opposite, he had left behind a little package which Miss Wilminson was to be kind enough to accept as a Christmas present. So I think the accusation, I think they went in smoke, because the peddler, he did not take away anything from this time from them, their silver cutlery. Instead, he has left something for Edla Wilminson as Christmas present, and it is very surprising that what it could be. The young girl opened the package, which was so badly done. So she opened the package. It was not properly packed, and the contents it were coming out. What were the contents? Let's find out. And the very moment when she saw, she gave a little cry of joy. She was so happy when she found the content. She found a small rat trap, and in it lay 3 wrinkled 10 kroner notes, right? So what was actually the bait? The 3 kroner rupees, right, notes. This was the bait that world offered, and he got tempted, and his life came to an end, and now he is returning the bait to her. But not that was not at all. He also left a letter. Left a letter in a large jagged characters, because jagged means not cursive, right? uh, Understand, very, not even characters, right? So in the letter he wrote, please children, this is very important, you need to remember this. Honored and noble miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long, because she has been kind to, yes, she has been kind to him, right? And I want to be nice to you in return, as if I were a real captain. And he mentioned that she made him feel like a real captain, Nils Olaf, right, Captain Wonstale. So that is why he doesn't want to embarrass her, and at this Christmas season, by a thief. So that is why he gave the money back, and he asked her to give the money back to the old man on the roadside, right? And he explained that how he stole the money, right? And this was actually a bait for poor wanderers. So the rat trap is a Christmas present for a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if it had not been raised to captain, right? So this, he says that this is actually a present from a rat trap. He's a rat, right? He from a rat. Now this is a metaphor. Why is calling himself a rat? Because he got trapped in the rat trap, the world, right? The metaphor, and he wouldn't be able to get out of the rat trap if it were not, yes, if he hadn't been raised to captain, right? If it were not Edla Wilminson, right? So that's how we see that the love, the kindness, and the compassion has power to change everyone, and that's how he was able to change and reform himself. And he, in the end, he wrote, written with friendship and high regard, Captain Wonstale, and he signed the letter as Captain Wonstale. He signed the letter as Captain Wonstale because it was Edla Wilminson who made him feel like a captain. That is why he was signed as Captain Wonstale, right? So we clearly see that it is that even a criminal or a bad person can be transformed into a good being, and that can only be done with love and kindness. So that's all for today. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.